Oh. Hey, buddy. You do a good job?
I hit that tree stuff.
And you hit the fence, too.
Good job, Nick. Hey, Nick. You have the apple on the fence. I know. Hey, there's a book on the apple. What is it? Come on, what is it? It's a ladybug. Ladybug? Nick, leave us alone.
Hey, Nick. Cody's going to be out in just a few minutes. He's going to bring some more apples to throw, okay?
Okay. Cody, want to share with me? Oh, Nick, I wanted you to say something. Okay. I'm sorry. Well, we can share this time. Yay!
Okay, he'll be out in a second, okay, Nick?
The fence is right over there.
Okay.
I'll get some apples in the bag, okay? Okay.
Growing up, me and my brother were inseparable. Calmly mistaken as twins, we grew up in a rural area of Portland doing everything with each other. We were Batman and Robin, literally, and leaned on each other for everything. We even were on the same baseball team, and he began to teach me how to play. Everything was perfect to my eyes. I had somebody who I could look up to and go to whenever there was a problem because I knew he was going to be there. That image, though, started to crack and waver when we moved to Medford. The problems weren't instant, but things were different around the house. We were now away from all the family and friends we grew up with, and Cody had started going to school, so I saw less and less of him throughout the days. I was now at home with my younger brother, but things weren't the same. He couldn't walk or talk yet and couldn't do what me and Cody would do. So I was stuck to my own devices trying to entertain myself until he got home. But even then, he had to do homework and I just sat and waited. The lone summer before I started school, I thought things were looking up. We were back to Batman and Robin doing whatever we wanted. And then I started school thinking things would be different because we were now on the same schedule, but it ended up making things worse. With both of us now being at school and having homework, we could barely do the things we wanted to with each other. It took an effect on my brother more than anybody. He started getting into trouble and stopped playing sports. I didn't know how to handle it. I would start hearing about what he had done now in the hall and being asked what happened before I even knew or was told. I was embarrassed, not just for me, but for him. I knew my brother wasn't a bad kid, but now that's all anybody thought about him. He then had to change schools and I was completely lost. My role model and idol growing up was gone, and I saw him at home, but he became distant. The image of perfection started to break. Years went by, and moving back to Portland helped things a little, but we were there for only a year until we were headed to Roseville for my dad's new store. In the new house, for the first time in my life, I had my own room I didn't have to share with Cody. Instead of missing him though, I loved having my own space to just go and be without anybody. And now I was starting a brand new school without Cody. I now was able to do and write my own story without him having an influence on what people thought of it. He went off to middle school and still remained getting into trouble. I thought it wouldn't affect me with us being at two different schools, but it started to interfere with my life. I was late to practices and other events now because of him being in trouble and my mom having to be at the school to talk to the administration. This was when I started to realize the distance that had grown between my brother and me, but it didn't bug me. The perfect image that I had maintained had now shattered. With me now going to the same school as him, I was dreading what I would have to deal with, and I didn't have to wait long. On the first day of school, I was brought in to talk to the vice principal, who asked me if he should expect any trouble from me, like my brother. I was already being preconceived as somebody who was going to cause trouble on the campus without attending my first class. I realized then his reputation was affecting my life more and more. Now came the point where I wanted nothing to do with my brother. We left Roseville and moved to Corning, and the gap just became bigger and bigger. We went to two completely different routes in our lives. I became a notable athlete, and he went down the party scene. Two separate paths that collided countless times in our house, where it came to the point where I hated my brother and wanted nothing to do with him. He would leave the house and I wouldn't care. I had my own life and I wasn't going to let him affect what I was going to do with it. But as time passed, he did turn things around in his life and was able to join the Marines like he'd always dreamed of doing. But for me, that meant he was finally leaving the house. I no longer had to deal with the problems that he caused for me. I was going to enjoy every minute of it. But that time apart made me realize how much he has changed and became the person I grew up knowing. He turned back into the brother that I grew up admiring and wanted to be like, because he was able to carry out his dreams and make something of himself, and for that I have the utmost respect for him. As the years go by and him living in San Diego and being stationed in Japan, I realize what he truly means to me. You don't get to choose your family, but they're the people that will always know what is best for you, because I know my brother will piss me off throughout my entire life and I'm stuck with him, but I wouldn't want it any other way, because he's my brother. And when it comes down to it, I know he will always be there for me, because brothers are forever. This I believe.
Oh, please just let me please break